Hello everybody, today we are going to do our PET, okay, our PET class. Remember, we're using this purple book one, okay? Purple book, pre-intermediate, B1, okay, B1. So for our student book, we will have 2 pages, okay, 2 pages. 105, okay, and also page 106, so just 2 pages, very easy. Right, we will do that later. I want to show you the pages for our workbook as well. So we will do some classwork in the workbook and then the rest as homework, okay? So on our workbook, we've done the homework already on page 1 and 2, right? Now we are going to do page 3 as classwork together. And then page 4 will be given to you as homework, okay? Homework, very little bit of homework for this lesson. I'll teach you how to go through them in each parts one by one, so that when you go home you know what to do, alright? Okay, so now let's go on to our student book, our purple book, alright? So on our student book we have 6 parts on page 106. 6 parts on page 106, so 9C, okay? 9C. So if we all could look at the whiteboard, okay? So the corresponding numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, are on the whiteboard as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? Corresponding numbers. Now, if you feel lost in any part, okay? Just look at the number of what I'm talking about and then refer to your book, alright? So it should be simple to understand. Alright, so let's start our class, alright? So for today, we are going to talk about conditionals, okay? So conditionals in the types 2 and type 3. Conditionals in type 2 and type 3. Now, what are conditionals, okay? There is a key word that we use for conditionals. Just one word that can explain all of the meaning of conditionals. What's that one word?
If.
Right, very good. If, right? IF. And if gives a meaning. What kind of meaning? Does it mean it will happen 100% or not so sure? It could happen, it might happen. Is it 100% or could? What do you think?
Both of them.
100%? Or could? What do you think? What's the correct answer? It depends on the type, right? It depends on the type. So we have type 0, 1, 2, and 3, right? So today we will be learning about type 2 and 3. So type 2 and 3, okay? To understand the type 2 and type 3 condition, let's look at the picture strip, okay? The picture strip over here. All right? So the teacher is writing on the whiteboard. The teacher wrote down, what would you do if you had 1 million pounds, okay? So 1 million pounds, that's like around maybe 9 million or 9.5 million Hong Kong dollars. So that's a lot of money, right? What would you do if you had that money? Okay? So she asked her student, Bill, and she said, Bill, you haven't done anything. Why is that? Okay? So the question for them was, what would you do if you had 1 million pounds? Bill didn't write down anything. He wrote down nothing, right? He wrote nothing. And then on strip B, he said, because that's what I'd do. I'd do if I had 1 million pounds. The word I'd. The word I'd. What does I'd mean?
I would.
Again, yes, I would. I would. So this word comes very handy. It is quite important. What do we call these kinds of word? Would, could, might. What do we call those words? What do we call those words? Would, could, and might. Right, those are modal words, right? Different level of certainty, different level of sureness, right? So I would, that could mean I could, right? Or I will in the past tense, right? So it depends on the situation, the main clause, okay? So now let's try to answer the question, okay? So the most important sentence here is what the teacher wrote down. What would you do if you had 1 million pounds? Okay, that's the most important sentence. So with that sentence, what do they describe? A, an imaginary situation right now in the present or in the future, okay? Or B, an unreal situation in the past. What do you think the teacher wrote down and what does it describe? What would you do if you had 1 million pounds? Is that A, imaginary situation in the present or future, or B, unreal situation in the past?
A.
All right, does everybody think A? How about you guys at home? Is it A or B? Right, it is A, right? It's A. It is an imaginary situation in the present or future. So what would you do if you had, right? What would you do if you had? For example, what would you do if you had not gone to class today? What would you do if you had not watched the video of today's class? What would you do? That's talking about right now, right? The present. What would you do? I would have slept, right? I would have slept. Okay, so now let's try to analyze the sentence, okay? So you can refer to what the teacher wrote. What would you do if you had 1 million pounds, okay? So this is a type 2 condition. We have the word if, right? It's the most important one, if. And then blank, right? And then we have would plus something, okay? So let me write down what the teacher wrote here. What would you do if you had 1 million pounds, right? Question mark. Okay, what would you do if you had 1 million pounds? But here in type 2, they started with if, right? So here we can see there are two different sentences, all right, put together. We have two different sentences put together. So, number one over here, what would you do is asking the action you will take, right? Your reaction to the what? Reaction to what? Reaction to sentence 2, your situation. What does situation mean? Can someone describe situation? S-I-T-U-A-T-I-O-N, situation. Situation. What is a situation? What is happening, right? What's happening? What's around me? Where am I at? Okay? So that's a situation. What is happening? What's around me? What am I doing? Where am I at? Who is with me? Okay? Those things are situations, okay? So the situation here is if you had 1 million pounds, what would you do? So we can swap this sentence around, okay? And still make sense. So it starts with if you had 1 million pounds, what would you do? Okay? So we switch it around to copy this style. Now, if we copy this style, right? If you had 1 million pounds, comma, what would you do? Right? And this one will become big, this one will become small, and then we'll swap them around, right? Now let's analyze. Look at the text very carefully. We have if, right? It checks out. We have if. You, right? You're asking anybody if you, if I, if we, if they. So this is optional. We can change this to any given nouns, okay? Pronouns, proper nouns, anything, right? And then had. And then here is the situation, the difference in real life to the unreal one, okay? The imaginary. This is the imaginary here. So it leaves us with had, okay? So it's if plus had. What is had? What should I write down there on top? What is had? Right? Think about the tense. What tense?
Past tense.
Past simple tense. Very good. Or it can also be. What do you think? What do you think? Try to think of different ways. Different ways. Try to think. Possibility. We've learned this in I think a couple of chapters back. What do you think? Past continuous, okay? So usually we will have past simple, okay? Past simple tense. Past simple. But we can also have continuous in this case. Okay? So if plus the past simple, sometimes we can use past continuous too. Alright? And then, alright, write that down please. Past continuous, past simple, and then put brackets continuous, because you can also use past continuous too. I will show you how later. Okay? Alright, So if plus past simple, right? The past tense of have is had. If you had, okay? And then we have the would here. So it checks out, right? It checks out. We have the would. We have the if. Would plus something. Again, you, optional. We can change to me. What would I? What would they? What would she? And then what? What, right? What is simple. The question, right? The relative pronoun. Is it what, who, where, when, okay? So this can be changed as well, okay? This can be changed. If you went to, or if you had gone, if you went to school, who would you have seen, okay? Or who would you see? Who would you see? If you went to school, who would you see? So I use who, right? But now we're talking about the situation and about doing something. So what would you do? Now here, what about do? What can we talk about the word do? We have would, can be changed, can be changed. So now we are left with do. Do. What is do? Is it an adjective, a verb, a pronoun? What is it? Do. It is a verb, right? So this is a verb. Right? So for verbs, we can talk about their tenses, right? Or the types of verb that they are. Alright, so forget about the tense, okay? We will focus the tense in the if clause. If clause is where the tense matters, okay? For the other clause over here, we will focus on its type of infinitive, okay? Remember, we have different types of verbs, right? Verbs are do, eat, run. But we also have to do, to eat, to run. What do we call these kinds of verbs when they have to in front? To do, to eat, to run. Right, we call these kinds of words to infinitives, to infinitives. Now, what would you do? Is there a to in front? What would you to do? No, right? So what kind of infinitive is this? What kind of infinitive? Starts with letter B.
Bare infinitive.
Thank you, Jenny. Everyone at home, please be careful, right? Bare infinitive. B-A-R-E-I-N-F-I-N-I-T-I-V-E-S. Very many I's. Infinitives. Okay? Bare means without. Without. Without what? Without ing. Without to. Just do, eat, and run. Bare infinitives. No change to the verbs. Okay? So this is how we do type 2 conditions, okay? If plus past simple tense, right? Comma, and then would plus bare infinitives, okay? So again, the sentence is, if you had 1 million pounds, comma, what would you do? Question mark, all right? Easy to understand. Okay, so again, type 2, reminding you, type 2 is used for an imaginary situation. Imaginary, right? In the present, right now, or in the future, later on. All right, now let's look at part 2 of this page. Okay, part 2. What would you do if? Again, we still have that what would you do sentence, right? 1, we've already tried. $1 million, £1 million. Number 2, 3, and 4. Number 2 is, what would you do if you wanted to change your image? That means can be your face, how people see you. You are a student, right? And you are a very lazy student, right? And you want to try to be hardworking. So what would you do to change your image that you were lazy? What would you do? Okay. Number 3, what would you do if you wanted to be a pop star? Okay. What is a pop star? Singer, dancer, right? In the TV, have lots of concerts, lots of albums, make a lot of music that people like to listen to. And lastly, 4, what would you do if you wanted to find a job? Wanted to find a job. So I'll give you just roughly 30 seconds. Just think, okay? You don't need to write this down. Just think. And for people at home, if you want to write down, just write down small notes, okay? You don't have to write full sentences, just small notes. All right, 2, 3, and 4. Just think of what would you do? What would you do? And then we will shout out our answers in full type 2 conditionals, okay? Shout out our answers. 15 seconds. Three, two, and one. Okay, so what would you do? Everyone at home, so the students listening at home, watching at home. All right, so shout out your answer. So what would you do if you wanted to change your image? Your image can mean how you look or how other people think of you, right? Can you shout it out quickly? All right, shout out number 3. What about number 3? Okay, so for the students in the classroom, all right, so let's start with Kotik. I want you to answer, did you think of all of them? Some answers for all of them. Yes? You can choose which one. So which one would you want to answer? What would you do if... The second one. What would you do if you wanted to change your image?
If I wanted to change my image, I would like to change my eyes.
Okay, so if I would like to change my if I wanted to change my image, I would like to change my eyes. Okay, interesting. All right, what about Jenny? Which one would you like to do?
Number 1.
Number 1. Okay, good. So if you had £1 million, what would you do?
If I had £1 million, I will share to other people.
I would share with others. Okay, very good. So Jenny said, if I won £1 million, I would share. So Jenny says I would, right? After would, we will use bare infinitive. So share stays the same. And for Kotik, he says, if I wanted to change my image, I would like, right? Did you say like? I would like to change. So if you use bare infinitive, I would like, and then change will become to change. So the second verb will have the to infinitive, right? I would like to change. If Jenny says like, if I had £1 million, I would like to share, okay? Instead of saying I would share, she can say I would like to share. All right, so if you have 2 verbs, the first verb is bare, no change. Second verb is to infinitive, all right? Easy? Yes or no? Yes, very simple, right? Now let's move on to part 3. Let's read the sentences and then complete the rule, okay? Actually, just one sentence, really. Just one sentence, but 2 clauses, okay? So let's read it together. If you had studied, you would have passed the exam. If you had studied, you would have passed the exam. All right, so still the same, right? We have if. We still have would. But here we have 2 things now. Right? 2 things. Before, for type 2, is just if plus past simple, comma, would plus bare infinitives. Now we have if plus something, comma, would plus something plus another rule. Okay? So let's analyze the sentence. If you had studied, comma. So here we have the comma, right? If you had studied, we have if, right? If you had studied. Again, remember, you can be changed to anybody, right? Anybody you want to ask a question to. So now we are left with had studied. Had studied. If you had studied, what can we say about the tense here? Had studied. What kind of tense is this? Had studied. Had studied. Past something.
Perfect.
Right, very good. Past perfect. If he, or if you, or if I had studied. You see, you can change you into different pronouns, right? Even proper nouns. If Mr. Joe had studied, right? You can use names as well. If you had studied, comma, again, we have would, right? Would is here. That's correct. You is optional. Remember, we can change. Okay? The exam is the thing we're talking about, right? The thing we're talking about. The situation, right? About the exam. And then we have two things here. Have, past. Very easy. Would plus have. What about the word past? Now think of the verb, not the tense again, okay? So the if clause is where the tense follows. I mean, the tense is important in the if clause. This sets the tone. That means this sets the type of clause or the type of condition, okay? After would, we have. What about past? P-A-S-S-E-D. What can we talk about that verb? Not in terms of tense, in a different kind of way. Past. Remember, have passed. Even had studied. So studied and past, there is something similar here.
Past simple.
Not past simple. Again, had studied. Had studied. Past perfect is this part and this part. What is the second part? Is that past?
Simple.
Present simple?
No, present perfect.
Present perfect. Yes, this is present perfect. But what about the second part, the verb of this part of the verb? What kind of formula is this? Had plus, I'll give you a hint, we called it PP. We have 3 columns, right? 1, 2, 3. We have
Past participle.
very good, past participle, okay? So would plus have plus PP, right? Past participle. Sing, sang, sung, okay? Sung. So, if the singer had not screamed loudly, she would have sung beautifully. Okay, would have sung beautifully. Right? If, what else? If I had worn a white shirt, okay, let's say I wore a white shirt, I would have been invisible, right? Maybe I will blend in. My shirt will blend in with the whiteboard. So I would have been, okay, B-E-E-N. Been or been, both pronunciation is correct, okay? So this is how we do type 3. If plus past perfect, right? Comma, we have would plus have plus past participle. Now sometimes we can also use past perfect continuous, okay? With the ing in the end, okay? Alright, so now let's try to complete the sentences. Okay, just say it out loud. You don't need to write down. I don't think we have enough time if we write down everything, okay? So try to write down just 3, the first parts. Maybe to write down 1, 2, 3, or you want to write down 2, 4, 5, or 6, or 2, 6, 8, okay? Write down whichever 3 you want, okay? Write down whichever 3 you want to do, and then you say it out loud. I'll give you around a minute and a half, 1 minute and a half. Okay, 1 minute and a half. You can choose which 3 to write, and then we will say it out loud in front of the class. Alright, remember this is conditionals type 3. Using type 3, right? And type 3 talks about what? Alright, type 3 talks about unreal situations. Situations a long time ago that are different, right? Not real. If I had sat down while teaching, my legs would have been relaxed. But I did not sit down, I was standing. Alright, you have half a minute left. Okay, time is up. Do you guys need more time to write? Need more time? No? Okay, so let's read it out loud. Okay, so for everyone at home, all the students at home, if you could read out your sentence, okay? Just try to read one. Let's go through one that you like very much. I'll give you 15 seconds, read out loud. All right, good try. Okay, so I would give my own example and then you check. Okay, the most important here is just the structure. Okay, so you can write down anything you think is creative. Write down anything. Nothing is wrong. The only wrong or right thing to do is the structure. This is the most important part. Okay, these three. All right, so let's start with Kotik. Can you read one sentence that you've done that you liked very much? Which one?
The first one.
The first one, all right. So if I had known it was your birthday, could you read out the answer?
If I had known it was your birthday, I would have come to your birthday party.
Okay, very good. So if I had known, past perfect, right? Had, past simple, and then perfect tense. Past perfect is the past participle. If I had known it was your birthday, I would have come to your party. Okay, come is okay. Okay, come is a good way to express that I would have, to the party, right? But the best way to say is maybe gone. I would have gone, right? I would have gone. Gone. I would have gone to your party. Have gone. Okay. Good work, Kotik. All right, just be mindful of the use of verbs, which verbs to use. All right, for Jenny, which one is your most favorite one?
7.
The 7th one. Okay, can you read it out loud?
If you had lent me the money, she may not have the money to pay for his meal.
Okay, if you had lent me the money, she what?
She might not have money to pay for her meal.
Okay, so she is the person who give you the money, or someone else?
Someone else.
Oh, how come there's someone else? So you mean if they lent you the money, so for example you borrow money from me, so I lent you the money. If you had lent me the money, she would not have money to pay for her meal.
Yeah, then
How come?
because
another person want to borrow money from me. Oh, okay. So she would not have had, okay? Would not have had the money to pay for her meal. Would not have had, okay? Have, had. Right? Remember, the present, past, and then past participle. She would not, okay? That's very good. So you can put a negative, okay? Wouldn't, would not have had. All right, good. So I will just read out the model answer from the book, okay? Number 1, if I had known it was your birthday, I would have baked you a cake. Would have baked, past participle. Number 2, if you had called me earlier, I could have come to you. I could have come to you. Come, came, come. Past participle again. Number 3, if Joe hadn't studied for his test, he wouldn't have passed it. Again, this is very good, like Jenny's example, wouldn't have, okay? He would not have passed, past participle. Number 4, if I had seen you, I would have given you a lift. So given you a lift means given you a ride. Come to my, maybe if someone's driving, right? And I see someone, my friend is walking for a very long time, I would have given them a lift. Ask them to, do you want to ride in my car? I can bring you home, okay? So given, would have given, past participle again. Number 5, if Jane had left on time, she wouldn't have missed the train. She wouldn't have missed, M-I-S-S-E-D, the train. Number 6, if I hadn't overslept. So you can put the negative here too. If I had not, right? If I had not. If I hadn't overslept, right? I would have gone shopping. Okay, I would have gone, G-O-N-E. Number 7, if you had lent me the money, I would have bought the shoes I wanted. Would have bought. Past participle. Last one, if Ian had caught the bus, he wouldn't have been late. He would not, again, negative one, right? He would not have been late for work. All right, so you can change it, right? You can say, had not studied, I would have failed. If I had studied, I would have passed. Or you can put wouldn't at the end, right? If I hadn't studied, I wouldn't have passed, okay? So you can change it up to your liking, right? Make it more flowery and colorful. So that's it for this one. Let's move on to part 5. So correct the mistake. And then you tell me which conditional is used. Is it type 1, type 2? So in each sentence, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we have to change something about the sentence. There's something wrong. And then you tell me which type of condition did we use. Conditional type 1 or type 2 or type 3. All right, so let's read the first one together, okay? If he got a job, he will move to a bigger house. If he got a job, he will move to a bigger house. What is the mistake there?
He would.
He would. Very good. So will, you cross it out, right? Will, cross it out, and then write would. W-O-U-L-D, would. Right? Let's try to answer the type of conditions later. Number 2. If I were you, I will tell her the truth.
I would.
Again, same thing, right? I would tell her the truth. If I were you, I would tell her the truth. Question number 3. If he had read the book, remember it's past participle, right? So it's a read, not read. If he had read the book, he might to understand. He might to have understood, the play. What do you think?
He might has understood.
Okay, so which rule do we have the word have? Is it type 2 or type 3? What do you think?
3.
Type 3. So he would have
Understood.
understood. Very good. So have is correct. Have is not the wrong thing here. It should be remove to. So you just remove to. He might have understood the play. We don't need to, remember, it's just past participle. He might have understood the play. Number 4, if she has had enough money on her, she would have bought the jumper. If she has had enough money on her, she would have bought the jumper. Which one is wrong here?
If she had enough money on her, she would have bought the jumper.
Okay, so you use past simple tense. It's alright to simple past tense. If she had enough money on her, that is okay too. But the more traditional way of using this, right? We need past perfect. So we have the word had, right? We have the word had in the back. So we can change the word has into had. So we have two had. She had had. If she had had enough money on her, she would have bought the jumper. Again, jumper can be a sweater, a pullover, right? All right, number five, last one. If I hadn't been tired, I would has gone home. If I hadn't been tired, I would has gone home or gone out.
I would have gone out.
Very good. I would have gone out, right? So has is wrong. It should be have. The first part is correct. The if clause is correct. All right, so now we have to analyze what type of conditions. Remember, we have type 2 and type 3. Type 2 talks about an imaginary situation, right? Imaginary in the present and future. Type 3 is unreal. Unreal, not real situation in the past, right? Different from what happened before. For example, I could have been sitting, but No, if I had been sitting, right? If I had sat during the class, my legs would have been relaxed, okay? But now I'm standing, so I'm tired, right? So I am tired versus I am relaxed, okay? So the real thing is I am tired, but the unreal thing, not real thing, is I was relaxing. I was relaxed, okay? So which one is type 1 and type 2? Okay, which one is type 2 and type 3? Which one is type 2 and type 3? Which one is type 2 and type 3?
2 is 1 and 2. 3 is 3, 4, 5.
Right, very good. Type 2 is 1 and 2, right? And type 3 is 3, 4, 5. Let me explain why that is. Okay? You can identify in 2 ways. How? From the rule, okay? Type 2 rule is if plus past simple, comma, would plus bare infinitive. So this one has the simple past, got a job, and then would plus bare infinitive, right? Move, would move to a bigger house. This one as well. If I were you, past simple, I would tell, bare infinitive, right? Another way is the situation. He would move to a bigger house, right? Right? That is talking about now. Would move to a bigger house, talking about now. I would tell her the truth. Can be now, I would tell her the truth, or in the coming future, I would tell her the truth. 3, 4, and 5 is type 3 because of the structure, right? Had read, had, hadn't been, okay? In the if clause, past perfect. And then in the main clause is might have understood, right? Past participle. Have bought. And then last one is have gone, okay? Very easy. Understand?
Understand.
Okay, very good. So we don't have to do actually we have to do, so we'll skip parts of it, right? So now let's move on straight to wishes, okay? We'll skip the part A, we'll just go through it very briefly, okay? So we have wish for the present, wish for now, and regret for the past. Regret means I hoped or I wish it did not happen, right? I wish it did not happen. Regret for the past. So 1 and 2. Let's read the green bubble. I wish I had some friends. I wish I had some friends. Versus the red bubble. If only I had played better. If only I had played better. Which one is the wish for the present? Green or red?
Green.
Right, so we're talking about now, right? I wish I had some friends. Even if we're using past tense, it's talking about now. I wish I had some friends, right? I wish I had gone out with my friends today. See? Present tense, right? So past tense for the present, right? Because it's conditional. What about the red one? Is it regret for the past or wish for the present? Regret or wish for the present?
Regret for the past.
Regret for the past. Okay, that's number 2. Again, regret means you wish it did not happen before. For example, I regret not having breakfast this morning. Now I am very hungry, right? I regret not having breakfast. Or I regret not eating my lunch. Now I'm so hungry, right? So regret means what happened in the past, you wish it did not happen, okay? So not having breakfast, I wish it did not happen. I wish I ate my breakfast, okay? So now we complete the tense, okay? The table. So what type of tense are they using? Are they different or are they the same? I wish I had some friends. If only I had played better. What do you think? What do you think is correct? What kind of tenses did they use?
The green one is past simple.
What else?
The red one, is it past perfect?
Yes, good. So past simple. But also, you can also just use past, right? If you wrote it down differently, okay? If only I played better. You can remove had played better. If only I played better. If only I had sung well, right? If only I had sung well, everyone would think of me as a best singer. Or you can say, if only I sang well. So you can use past or past perfect. So a lot of people would not use past perfect when they're speaking, right? They wouldn't say, if only I had played better. Instead, they would say, if only I played better. So you can use either is fine. Alright, so part B, we'll skip through that. Alright, so no need to do part B. If you want to do it, you can use the prompts to make sentences at home, okay? You can use a notebook and then write that down. For now, we will move to page 107, part 7, okay? Relative clauses. We know what relative nouns are, right? Relative nouns, do you know relative nouns? The WH words, right? Or the W words. So here, part 7, relative clause, same as your book on the whiteboard. Alright, so relative clauses, okay? Relative clauses are the sentences which the relative pronouns refer to. Relative pronouns are where, right? Where for things. Where for places. Which for things, what else? Where, who, how for what happened, right? Why, also for what happened or reason, right? Many kinds of relative clauses. For today, we are focusing on which, where, who, and whose. Alright, so many students that I've taught before, they always get confused with who is, and whose. What is the difference between who and whose? Who and whose?
Who
is talking about the people, right? Who is this, right? This is Mr. Joe, my teacher. Whose is this is talking about
the thing that people have.
Right. This is, sorry, let me cross it out then. So that it's different, okay? Whose is for items, okay? Items or belongings. This is the key word here. Belonging. Belong means come from someone, right? It is someone's pen. So, if I want to ask a question about this pen, what should I use? Who or whose?
Whose?
Whose pen is this? This is Mr. Joe's pen. Are we asking about Mr. Joe or the pen?
The pen.
The pen, right? Whose pen is this? Now we have another word. Whose. It's also pronounced as whose, right? But this is not about the pen. Whose is who is, right? Who is, alright? Just be careful, okay? Alright, so now let's look at the defining clause, okay? Defining, okay? So define. Define means the meaning, okay? Define means the meaning. So defining here means all these relative clauses, we need these. We need to have these to put meaning in our sentence, okay? What does that mean, okay? So let me try to do question A for you guys, okay? So let's read together. I like films, blank are about aliens. I like films, blank are about aliens. Which one should I use? Which, where, who, whose?
Which?
Which are about, which are about aliens. So I like films, which are about aliens. So the sentence after which is are about aliens. What if I remove that part? I like films. Is that true? I like all the kinds of films. I like films. Is that true? From the sentence A. I like films versus I like films which are about aliens.
Not the same.
Not the same, right? So the part where they said which are about aliens is the defining part. Defining means the meaning, okay? The true meaning. So if someone tells you, I like films, okay, they like films. So when you go to their house, you bring a USB or a DVD player, or a DVD, right? You bring maybe a movie about Harry Potter. Do you think they will enjoy the movie?
No.
No, right? Because they specifically like movies about aliens. So if we remove the part after which, right? Which are about aliens, right? We don't know what they actually mean. That's why defining means we need those parts, okay? Alright, what about for part B? Now that you know how to do them. Part B. Tom Cruise is the actor I admire most. Tom Cruise is the actor. Right, who, because it's a person. Who I admire most. Everyone at home, if you're getting confused, right, listen carefully and write down, you can write down some notes. Everyone here too, you can write down some notes to remind you. Who is talking about a person, right? Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is the actor who I admire most. So Tom Cruise is the actor, full stop. What about Tom Cruise? Why are you telling me about him? Because I admire him the most, right? So this part is important. All right, letter C. The man blank I wanted to see was on holiday. The man blank I wanted to see was on holiday.
Who I wanted to.
Right, who I wanted to see was on holiday. So both of them are who, right? B and C are who. Letter A is which. Now pay attention because I will be explaining something, okay? So I like films which are about aliens, right? You can't just say I like films. Tom Cruise is the actor who I admire the most. That part is important. You can't just say Tom Cruise is the actor, full stop. So what about him, right? Why are you telling me about him? Letter C, the man who I wanted to see was on holiday. If you just say the man, this is the man I wanted to see, right? Okay, cool. What's so surprising, right? But he was on holiday, so I could not see him. So that part is important. Now let's go to non-defining. If defining is something that we need, a very important piece of information, what do you think non-defining means? Is it important? No, right? We could remove it. Let me turn off the. Let's give having feedback. We can remove it, right? Non-defining means we can remove it, right? So let's try to read it together, and I will give you the first answer. Okay, answer for part D. Bob blank father is a pianist, is an actor. A pianist is someone who plays the piano. Okay, so Bob father is a pianist, is an actor. Very good. Whose? So the father belongs to Bob, right? Notice something. We have Bob, comma, whose father is a pianist, comma, is an actor. Full stop. So what do we see here? We see the relative pronoun in between the commas, right? In between the commas. If I remove this, if I say Bob is an actor, is that true? Bob is an actor.
Yes.
Yes, right? So we don't need to put this every time, right? Mr. Joe, who is my English teacher, teaches in Learning Grace, right? If I can say Mr. Joe teaches in Learning Grace, is that still true?
Yes.
Right, so this part we can remove. It's non-defining. This part is an extra piece of information that we don't really need, okay? All right, so what about E? Part E. York, she lives, is a quiet city.
Where?
Right, it's a place, right? So York, where she lives, is a quiet city. Can I say York is a quiet city?
Yeah.
Yes, right? It's still true. It's still true. York is a quiet city. All right, letter F. Tom blank was born in Wales, moved to Lisbon. Maybe, yes, very good. Who was born in Wales. So maybe someone asked him a question. Someone asked a question. Where is Tom now? Where is Tom now? And then you can say
He moved to
Lisbon. Very good. Tom moved to Lisbon. You don't need to say Tom, who was born in Wales, moved to Lisbon. Right? All right. Monaco. Monaco is a country near France and Italy, okay? So Monaco, blank, is visited by a lot of film stars, is very expensive. What do you think? Monaco. Monaco, which is visited? Monaco, where is visited? Monaco, who is visited? Monaco, whose is visited? Where is visited? I see how you can get confused because Monaco is a country, right? But Monaco, which is visited? We're talking about the action, right? The action of the film stars. Which is visited? Alright, so which is visited by a lot of movie stars or film stars is very expensive. I can still say Monaco is very expensive. Again, this part, right? The comma, the relative clause, and the comma can be removed in the non-defining part. Now, I will tell you something that you can use to identify which is relative in the defining and relative in the non-defining. Again, the two commas, right? Notice for defining there are no commas used. In non-defining we have two commas and inside is a relative clause, yes? And also, in the defining part, the relative pronoun is talking about the subject or the object, right? Talking about the film. I like films which are about aliens. Let's compare it with G, which. Monaco, which is visited by a lot of film stars, is very expensive. Which is referring to Monaco the country or the action of the film stars visiting the country? Which is the Monaco or which is the visiting of the film stars? What do you think? What does it refer to? The country or the action of the film stars visiting the country? What do you think?
The action.
Very good. Okay, so again, let's try to, maybe there's no space to write down, right? That's why you guys are quite confused. Look at part A in defining clause. Part A. I like films which are about aliens. Which are about aliens. Is which talking about the aliens or the movie? Is which talking about films or the movie? Films or the aliens? I like films which are about aliens.
Alien.
Are you sure?
Film.
The films, right? It reflects the film. The kind of film that I want are about aliens. So which reflects the movie, okay, the films. But for G, we also use which, right? Monaco, which is visited by a lot of film stars, is very expensive. Monaco, which a lot of film stars visit. This is one whole clause, okay? This cannot be removed. Which is visited by lots of film stars. It reflects the film stars' action of visiting, right? Is very expensive. That's why we can remove it. We can remove it. Alright, so Monaco is expensive. Can I say, I like films? Right? I like films, and then that's it. Can we say I like films?
Yes.
Yes, right? But if you want to be specific, I like films which are about nature, okay? So, do you like every other films? Do you like all the films in the world? Maybe not, right? Maybe you hate musicals. Alright, so defining, non-defining. Defining we can't remove. Non-defining we can remove. In between commas. Also for defining, we can change all of this to that. We can change all of it to that. Even here. Right? Try to read it with the word that instead of which, who, and who. Try to read it. I like films that are about aliens. Tom Cruise is the actor that I admire most. The man that I wanted to see was on holiday. You see, we can change all of these to that. For this one, we cannot. Bob, that father is a pianist, is an actor. Can you change it? No, okay? So when you see that, okay, referring to something, it usually is a defining relative clause, okay? So that's how you identify when you're reading or when you write, okay? Very easy. Which relative clause can be omitted, okay? Very easy. All of these non-defining. So D, E, F, and G, right? The non-defining are D, E, F, and G. They can be the ones that are removed or omitted. Okay? Alright, so use appropriate relative pronouns. Very easy. I'll give you around 30 seconds. Just use 30 seconds, right? Or 30 to 45 seconds. Just use the appropriate relative pronouns. Which, where, who, whose. Whichever you think is correct. Very easy. You can do both defining or non-defining if you can do either, right? Alright, so let's try to check it out, okay? So the first one, Paul loves swimming. He is 80 years old, okay? So you can say, Paul, comma, who is 80 years old, loves swimming. So we use who, right? Paul, who is 80 years old, loves swimming. So Paul loves swimming. We can change it around. We can say, we want to say Paul is 80 years old. So we can say, Paul, who loves swimming, is 80 years old. Okay, we can change it around. What about for the next one? Chicago. Chicago is a great film. I saw it last night on TV. Chicago, which I saw last night on TV, is a great film. We use which, okay? Which. Number 3, Venice is a city. Venice is in Italy. It attracts many tourists. Venice, which attracts many tourists, is in Italy. Right? Or Venice, comma, which is in Italy, attracts many tourists. We also use which, okay? The action of attracting people, not the city itself, okay? Number 4, Anne is my colleague. We saw her yesterday. Anne, who we saw yesterday, is my colleague. Or Anne, who is my colleague, is the one we saw yesterday, or is who we saw yesterday. Alright, number 5, the painting is worth £10,000. It was painted in 1875. The painting, which was painted in 1875, is worth £10,000, okay? Part 9, we don't really need to do it because it's match the columns, okay? Whichever way it is done, it is quite correct, okay? Many ways to change them. So let's skip that, okay? Let's go to phrasal verbs, okay? Phrasal verbs. Turn out, turn down, turn on, turn up, turn off, and turn to. Turn out, right? Turn out means results. Turn down means to make it softer. Turn on, very easy, turn on something. Turn up means to show up. And to turn off means to, we already know, right? Turn off the lights, turn off the TV. Turn to means to go to somebody or to ask someone. Right, so very easy. Please turn off the TV or turn down the TV. Turn off means turn off completely, turn down means the volume. Number 2, don't worry, everything will turn fine. Talking about results, so it should be turn, results, turn out. Okay, we're talking about the results. What will happen in the end? It will turn out fine. Number 3, John turned up the very last minute. Turn up. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Miss Yang. Turn out. Okay. And then number 3 is turn up. Means to show up, right? That means he is very late. He showed up very late. And number 4, please turn blank the music. Turn down the music. It is too loud. Okay. So phrasal verbs, again, phrasal verbs means phrases, right? That starts with verbs. Okay. Turn down, get up, get done with. All right. So for part 10, okay, it's listening, but we don't really have much time. All right, so I might just do this in the next lesson, okay? We will do this again in the next lesson. So now let's go on to our workbook, okay? Let me explain how to do your homework. All right, so homework, we don't have much time, okay? We don't have much time, but I'll just explain it for you so you know how to do page 3 and page 4. Page 3, okay, we have 3 parts. Page 4, we also have, we have 4 parts, okay? So page 3, read the extract, okay? The extract is this one. This is called an extract. From the interview and answer the questions below. Part 1, look at the sentence in italics. Italics means the words that are not written straight, they're a little bit slanted, okay? So the one in italics is the if clause, the if conditions, right? A conditional sentence. We have 2 answers, right? So, can you see it? Yes, I can see it. What type of conditions are they? Right, what type are they? And when are they used? So there are 2 types here, right? So you write down the answer. okay, on the side. Or if you have a paper, you can use a piece of paper and then stick it here, staple it. Number two, we also have part 2 here. Look at the sentence, right? What type is used? What type of conditional? And number 3, which conditionals are not in the text? Not in the text. We have type 0 and 1, right? We learned that before. You can talk about that as well. Now, the most important part is part 2. You have to rewrite the sentence, okay? Rewrite the sentence. Either type 2 or type 3. You have to see for yourself. Let's try to do 2 together. He got a promotion, so he bought a car, right? So it should be, if he had not got a promotion, comma, he wouldn't have bought a car. And this is type 3. How do we know? From the situation, right? If he had not gotten a promotion. Or you can say got. Got or gotten are both okay, okay? So this is type 3 because we're talking about the past. He got a promotion before, and then he bought a car. Alright? So these parts, I'll give you as homework, okay? So most of the workbook stuff is homework, okay? Alright? Alright, so for part B, okay? For part B, the ones at home, you can pause the video later and copy this down. Part B, okay? Part B. Very simple, right? Same thing as part A over here. Just rewrite the sentences. Same thing. And then for here, okay? Okay, for part 3, we can easily just write down, right? Which shows regret about the past before. Regret about the present right now. Change of future or present, okay? Which sentences, okay? And then C, you just write down what you want to wish about yourself. And then for page 4, same thing, right? Same thing as what we did in our workbook, in our student book. Underline the conditionals and the phrasal verbs, and then use the relative clauses. Who, which, whose, and where. And then rewrite the sentence. So very similar to your student book. So if you get confused, you can go back to your student book and then copy some parts together. Alright? You understand how to do your homework? Yes. Alright. So everybody, today we did 9C, okay? So we did our PET part 5. Thank you very much for today, and I hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.